Raider Nation, Raider motherfucking Nation, man. What's cracking with it, y'all? Hey, y'all know what it is, man. Show homie the sports man. We back again. It's Raider Gang TV. Go ahead, lock in, hit the motherfucking like button, hit the subscribe button, show some love for the Raider Gang. And you already know this is brought to you by the one and only Drippy Whips. Get the best whip you can, from scat backs to motherfucking Lamborghinis to Ferraris, whatever your heart desires. Drippy Whips for fucking your whips. Let's get straight into it, y'all. Let's get right into it, y'all. The fucking coaching rumors. Let's talk about it. I'm pretty sure most of Raider Nation is fucking pulling for Antonio Pierce. Most of us are, right? The way he has the team playing, you know what I mean? Like, we know he's not the best X's and O's because he's a new coach. But as far as how he has the team playing, we all sign up for that. All the Raider Nation is signing up for that. The only problem is he lose steam when he lose, right? So we just lost 2 games in a row when you have a whole bunch of good coaches out there that's clamoring for a job. So that makes it hard for Mark Davis to make a decision. That makes it hard and everything. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the coaches that was already rumored. They're rumored for the Raiders coming up this season. Ben Johnson, that's one guy from the Detroit Lions. I don't know if y'all heard of him. He's the offensive coordinator. Um, David Shaw. David Shaw from the what's that? Stanford. Remember him from Stanford? I don't know what he does now. I haven't been up on him, but he was at Stanford with Andrew Luck. Then of course Antonio Pierce. Then Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. I think that's the Raiders' favorite. I think that's most fans want. And then let me see who else. And also what's that? Mike McDonald. That's his name? Yeah, Mike McDonald on the Ravens. The Ravens offensive coordinator. Those are the head coaches that's rumored to be tied to the Raiders, right? And then another name got thrown into the fucking hat today. Another name got thrown in the hat today, Raider Nation. No other than John Gruden. Now, this was reported on by Hondo, Raider Insider, Sports Illustrated reporter. So it's legit. I may not always agree with. I agree with him now, but before the beginning of the season, he was saying a lot of hopeful things for Josh McDaniels that I didn't agree with, and now it's all good because he was the first reporter to jump on his ass and hold him accountable. So it's all good, Hondo. It's all good. But he reported that Mark Davis is very open and very interested. Where does that leave us at, Raider Nation? Where does that leave us at, Raider Nation? Of course, we love Gruden, right? We love Gruden, whatever, whatever. But to me, I think it's time to move on. I think we got to push past the Gruden era now. I mean, he want to get back into the NFL. I'm not against Gruden getting back in the league. He'll probably get in as an offensive coordinator. Like, he want to come in and be a coordinator for our team. If a coach that we hire brings him in, like if Antonio Pierce wants him in or something like that, that's different. But to pick John Gruden over Jim Harbaugh and other good coaches would be a mistake, right? That would obviously be a mistake. So I think that's interesting. But everything all depends on the way this fucking season unfolds. That's what it all hinges on, right? Because if the Raiders somehow can end the season 3-2 or 4-1, they have a chance to get in the playoffs. That changes this whole conversation. Right? Because if Antonio Pierce gets the Raiders to the playoffs, everything's out the window. We don't care who's interested, right? We don't care because it's all about the coach that got you there. Kind of like Rich Versace last year, we let him go for a coach with a name like Josh McDaniels. So if he was to get to the playoffs, I think the job is his. I don't think you can take the job away. Now, if the Raiders don't make the playoffs, I mean, you can't get mad at at the navigation, right? Can be mad at the investigation of all these coaches. They want to look into them and find out who's who and see how they fit into the system or whatever with the Raiders. So I don't know. It's interesting. It's going to be interesting to find out what happens, but it all depends, like I said, what happens the rest of the season. And a lot of that also, of course, is going to depend on Aiden O'Connell, right? Now, Aiden O'Connell, interesting young quarterback, a lot of upside. Uh, pretty accurate. I think he's pretty accurate. I mean, but you have to look at him and then you have to compare him to all these young quarterbacks coming out next season. We talking about what's his name, Penix out of Washington, Bo Nix, Oregon, Caleb Williams, USC, um, Drake May. I mean, the names go on and on, right? So obviously, you would probably have to trade up to get one of these players, but you can't be afraid to do that if you believe in these players. So either you stay with Aiden O'Connell, who so far this season's given you 4 touchdowns, 6 INTs, 3 of those was in one game. Let's be fair, and a 76 rating. You know, leaves a lot to be desired. It's not horrible. It's not bad. It's not good. It's not terrible. You know, but you see the upside. You see some things. But when you look at the mobility of the quarterbacks nowadays, I don't know if the Raiders can really pass up the opportunity to get a mobile quarterback like Daniels out of Daniels out of LSU. You know, like if you get quarterbacks available, it's kind of hard to pass them up because they're accurate. They can do all the stuff that Aiden can do, and they can also roll outside the pocket and be mobile and create a different dynamic to your game. So the Raiders are in an interesting position, interesting spot. But like I said, none of this matters if they make the playoffs. If Aiden O'Connell makes the playoffs, it's his job. It's going to be his job. If Antonio Pierce makes the playoffs, it's going to be his job. It's really that simple. It's going to be that simple, Raider Nation. Now, it gets sticky and muddy if they go, 1-4 down the stretch. They go, 2-3 down the stretch. It gets now anything's in the air. Now you can get any coach, any quarterback, nothing's off limits, right? So it's interesting. We're gonna find out exactly how that's gonna work out. But one person I wouldn't fucking count on having a job next year is Bo Hargrave, if I'm not saying his name right. The offensive coordinator, interim offensive coordinator right now. This dude right here, he's Josh McDaniels Jr. I mean, he can draw up a good scheme in the first half. I mean, he can draw up something good. He can say, okay, let's get Davante the ball 8 times this quarter, and he'll get 9 targets. 8, 9 targets. Boom, 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 boom. Third quarter come around, you don't know if Davante's on the team anymore. It's like, come on, you can't do that. You can't do that. That's the Josh McDaniels stuff. You can't do that. You're putting everybody in a bad position, man. So Hargrave, he's definitely going to be out of here. If Pierce maintains this job here, it's going to be huge who he brings in as an offensive coordinator. That's going to be big. It's going to be big because it's going to matter. It's going to matter because Hargrave right now, like I said, I'm glad he listens to the players. I'm glad that they say, okay, Davante, what are you seeing? All right, you want to do some slanting goals on here, all right? All right, Josh, you like some halfback powers, right? It's good that he listens to these players and he takes the input. But being an offensive coordinator, you also have to learn how to manage the flow of the game, right? You got to know how to call the plays through the flow of the game. So if Josh Jacobs is pounding it down 4 or 5 yards of carry, you got to hit him with the play action. But don't do it on 3rd and 1 because we still want to be able to, run and make sure we get that first down. On 3rd and 1, let's go ahead and QB sneak. On 3rd and 1, let's go ahead and be creative, get some motion going, and then do a halfback dive. Let's just get creative on 3rd and 1. That's our Achilles heel right now. I know we're one of the worst teams in the NFL on 3rd down, and that's all on the offensive coordinator. You got to know how to feel the game. If you want to fucking keep this job long term, you want to keep any of these. If Hargrave want to keep his job long term, if Pierce wants to keep his job long term, if O'Connell wants to keep his job long term, it's all going to come down to efficiency for 5 games. 5 games. That's what it comes down to. And Hargrave, he gives us a chance early in the game. The problem is he doesn't give us much of a chance later on in the game, a lot like Josh McDaniels, and that we cannot have, and there's no way that we can think of bringing him back on this team. And that takes me down to the final stretch. Now, the final stretch of the final stretch of the season, it's do or die. It's do or die. And it all starts with the Minnesota Vikings. We got Josh Dobbs, the reinvigorated, the the re-energized, right? Dobbs with the Minnesota Vikings. He's coming in looking like Lamar Jackson and shit right now. So we got them coming down to Las Vegas. That's a must-win game for the Raiders. That's a must-win game. And you say, why is it must-win? Well, it's a must-win because after that, we got the Los Angeles San Diego Clipper Chargers, and we cannot be swept by them. That's a must-win game. We have to get momentum. If we're going to be serious about any kind of run, if the Raiders are going to make any run, those first two games have to be got. We have to get this Vikings game. We have to get this Chargers game with the worst coach in the NFL, Staley. We have to get those two games, right? You get those two games, you're 7-7. 7-7. And then you got to go to Kansas City. Got to go to Kansas City. Now, say you don't pull that off. Now you're 7-8. You got to go to Indianapolis, and then you got to finish off the Denver Broncos in Denver. Not easy games. Not easy games. But if you get those two games, you're 9-8. 9-8 just might sneak you in. It just might sneak you in. But you cannot lose to Minnesota, beat the Chargers, lose to the Chiefs, and lose to the Colts or Denver because you're out. You're going to be out, or we're going to be out. So this stretch is key. So we gotta take out the Minnesota Vikings at home with Josh Dobbs. We got to take out the San Diego, Los Angeles Clipper Chargers with the worst coach in the NFL. And then we got to go to Kansas City and play Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce in the kingdom, right? We got to go get these games. This is the final stretch. This is the final stretch, y'all. This final stretch not last season, but y'all know the Magic season, the 2021 season, that final stretch, man, it looked bleak. It looked bleak, but you know what? It took magic and it took the team sticking together for it to get done. And it's the only way the Raiders are going to get it done right now, or we might as well look towards next season. But it all starts in Minnesota. It starts in Minnesota. So you go to Minnesota. Minnesota comes to Las Vegas. We got to get that game. We got to get the Chargers game in Las Vegas. It will be beautiful to get the Taylor Swift game. And then the Gardner Minshew. How are the Colts still winning? I don't know. How are they still relevant? I have no fucking clue. I don't know. I don't think anybody fucking knows how Gardner Minshew is fucking winning games. But got to give him his credit. He's winning games. And then Sean Payton has the Broncos doing what I said they were going to do. Unfortunately, it's at the wrong time, and it's at the expense of the fucking Raiders, right? They already got 6 wins. That's tough. So we ended with Denver in Denver. Inwood in Denver. I believe it's in Denver. So hey, it's a tough stretch, man. It's a tough final stretch. It's going to be a tough decision on these coaches coming up from Mark Davis, but everything still hinges on what happens the rest of the season, Raider Nation. If the Raiders finish out strong, you have your coach. If the Raiders finish out strong, you have your quarterback. If the Raiders finish out strong, you're still swapping out that offensive coordinator. Now, if the Raiders don't finish out strong, you're swapping out your coach. If the Raiders don't finish out strong, you're going to draft another quarterback. If the Raiders don't finish out strong, you're still going to get a new offensive coordinator, and it's just going to all be starting all the way over. But we got to see what it's going to be. Either way it go, Raider fucking Nation, Minnesota Vikings coming to Las Vegas. It's a must-win game. Let's get it, Raider Nation. Y'all holla at your boy, man, the sports, man. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Drop some comments, man. Appreciate y'all. West Side, y'all show some love.